Hello everyone, and welcome to Around the Globe. Here is Japan, the land of cherry blossoms, cutting-edge technology, and mysterious cultural traditions. But did you know there are taboos in Japan that might shock you and cause serious trouble? In today's video, we will reveal 15 shocking taboos that you should never do when visiting the land of the rising sun. Let's dive in and explore. 15. Overwork culture and death from exhaustion. Japan has a serious problem with overwork, leading to the phenomenon of karoshi, death from overwork. Work pressure has also caused many Japanese people to contemplate suicide. Japan has one of the highest suicide rates in the world, with the infamous Aokigahara suicide forest, where it is said that every tree has someone hanging from it. This culture of working to death is a serious problem in Japan, and the ban on excessive overtime work is one of the government's efforts to change this situation and protect workers' health and lives. 14. No tipping allowed. If you have a chance to visit a Japanese restaurant, you'll be surprised if you see staff running after you to return even a few yen. In Japan, tipping is not a way to reward service. Japanese people believe that when a customer tips, it means the customer is not satisfied with the service and wants to send a message that next time, do better. Tipping is considered very rude and unpleasant for the restaurant and its staff. They value dignity and respect much more than tips, and believe that you've already paid for good service, so there's no need to tip. Japan is one of the few countries in the world that offers truly excellent service without any obligations. However, there are some notable exceptions to this rule that we will discuss further. Instead of tipping, Japanese people show gratitude to service staff through small gifts like origami, meticulously folded paper that contains heartfelt thanks and encouragement for the staff. For Japanese people, thanking with money doesn't fit with their values. This is a beautiful aspect of Japanese etiquette, showing warmth and a lack of greed for money. They do not use money to replace beautiful intangible values because they understand that money cannot bring deep spiritual value. So tattoos are not welcome. Japan is a country where tattoos are not common, and, well, many visitors with tattoos experience a bit of cultural shock when visiting the land of the rising sun. Here, tattoos are particularly stigmatized, and people with tattoos often cannot experience the most famous tourist services. Those with tattoos are banned from most inns, hot springs, public baths, restaurants, traditional guest houses, gyms, swimming pools, and even capsule hotels. Tattoos in Japan are often associated with the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia, a concept familiar to the world through films and social media. Additionally, tattoos are stigmatized because they relate to a disrespected class from the Edo period when criminals were punished by tattooing. During the same period, prostitutes known as yujo also tattooed themselves to show dedication to loyal customers. Tattoos gradually became illegal during the Meiji period and were only legalized in 1948. In many cases, you are not allowed to show your tattoos, although this attitude is, gradually changing among the younger generation. Foreigners are often accepted to have tattoos, but they must cover them in public places. Not giving up seats for the elderly on public transport. Now, that's something that might surprise you. Japan is famous for its poetic beauty and noble rules. However, a seemingly paradoxical rule is not giving up seats for the elderly on public transportation. This might make you think that the Japanese are cold-hearted, but that's not the case. They actually have a valid reason for this rule. Today, all public transportation in Japan is equipped with priority areas for the elderly, pregnant women, children, and people with disabilities. If these priority seats are full, those who arrive later will have to stand, even if younger people see them but can't do anything else. This is not because the Japanese don't care, but because they value equality in society. In Japan, the principle is that those who arrive first get a seat and those who come later have to stand, and no one complains about it. Giving up seats for others is a common act in many parts of the world, but in Japan, this can make people feel uncomfortable, as it can be seen as unnecessary differentiation in a society that values equality. If you really want to give up your seat, do it subtly, like pretending to get off at the next stop or switching seats with someone else so the Japanese person can sit comfortably without worrying about you giving up your seat for them. You know, every country in the world has its own beliefs about unlucky numbers and tends to avoid using them. Japan is no exception and actually has a pretty strong aversion to the number 4. This goes back to Japanese customs and beliefs because the number 4 is pronounced in a way that's really similar to she, which means death. So yeah, the number 4 is considered unlucky. The Japanese are honestly very afraid of this number and use all sorts of methods to avoid bad luck connected to it. For example, in some buildings, elevators just don't have a button for the 4th floor. Instead, this floor might be labeled as 3A or 3S, or sometimes just replaced with the letter T. Many apartment buildings, offices, and hospitals also skip having a 4th floor altogether. This can really confuse a lot of visitors to Japan when they realize they can't actually find the 4th floor in buildings. Similarly, the number 9 is also seen as unlucky in Japan because its pronunciation is kind of close to kurushimi, which means suffering. Most hotels in Japan avoid having room numbers 9 or 49. It's quite a cultural contrast, especially when you think about the United States, where the number 9 is actually considered lucky and even perfect. These beliefs about numbers in Japan aren't just superstitions. They actually reflect the psychology and culture of the people in a pretty deep way. This kind of thinking not only helps the Japanese feel secure, but also helps them maintain traditional values, passing them down through the generations. Gift giving is, well, an essential part of daily life for the Japanese, with about 70 occasions each year. Some important occasions include New Year's Day, New Year's gifts, Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, weddings, family celebrations, induction ceremonies, graduations, welcoming new people, and visiting the sick. With so many gift-giving occasions, the Japanese also have, many rules about gifts, especially those that should not be given. First, avoid giving gifts related to the numbers 4 and 9. As mentioned earlier, these are 2 taboo numbers in Japan. The number 4 is pronounced like shi, meaning death, and the number 9 is pronounced like kurushimi, meaning suffering. Next, do not give a comb to a Japanese person, as the word for comb in Japanese is kushi, pronounced like kurushimi, meaning suffering and death. Additionally, do not give images of fox's glass items or sharp objects. Gifts with fox images are considered symbols of greed and cunning. Glass or fragile materials are seen as bringing bad luck to relationships. Sharp items like knives or scissors are thought to cut off relationships. Finally, do not give chrysanthemums and camellias. If you must give flowers, avoid these two as they are used in funerals in Japan. If you insist on giving chrysanthemums or camellias, the Japanese might get angry and see it as cursing them or their families. With these rules, the Japanese not only preserve traditions but also show respect and delicacy in gift-giving. In most countries, sitting with legs crossed is completely normal. However, when you come to Japan, you will encounter a fascinating cultural difference. Sitting with legs crossed can make you appear rude and inappropriate in the eyes of the Japanese. Although the Japanese government does not ban this, Japanese culture places special emphasis on respecting others, especially in public places or meetings. So, sitting with your legs crossed in Japan can actually be seen as impolite and, well, even a bit provocative, making others feel uncomfortable. The Japanese believe that this posture kind of reminds people of inappropriate behavior and honestly lacks dignity. That's why, to show respect and politeness, people in Japan often sit in the traditional seiza style, sitting on the knees with a neat and dignified posture. When you come to Japan, instead of sitting with your legs crossed, you might want to try sitting on your knees or, sitting with your back straight and your legs together. It's a good way to better integrate with the local culture. Women make up half of the world, but in some places in Japan, they're actually considered taboo and are not allowed to set foot in certain sacred places. The most famous of these is Mount Omine. Mount Omine, also known as Mount Sanjo, has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2004. However, for centuries, women have been completely banned from visiting the mountain and the sacred temple at its summit, all to avoid polluting the sacred atmosphere. Although discrimination has decreased significantly today, this rule remains unchanged. There is even a sign at the entrance to the mountain trail explicitly stating the prohibition of women. Another famous place that bans women is Okinoshima Island, located in Kyushu. This island is recognized as a World Cultural Heritage Site due to its significant historical value. According to the rules, only men are allowed on the island, and they must cleanse themselves thoroughly before setting foot on it. Women are completely banned, and anyone who visits the island is not allowed to take anything off the island, not even a stone. Additionally, Japanese women are also not allowed in sumo rings, cannot register for marriage within 6 months after a divorce, and face many other strict regulations. Although Japan is a highly developed country, discrimination against women still exists through these taboo rules. This shows that despite social and economic progress, Japan still needs to strive for true gender equality. The regulation of smoking outdoors in Japan is, well, a bit controversial, both reasonable and somewhat unreasonable. Since 2018, Japan has implemented new laws aiming to reduce the risk of passive smoking, and these apply at schools, hospitals, government agencies, and various public areas. According to these laws, places that allow smoking can be fined up to $4,600, and individuals violating the rules can actually face fines up to $2,700 if they smoke in prohibited areas. However, the law also specifies designated smoking areas outdoors in an effort to balance the rights of smokers with public safety. Notably, while smoking in crowded areas like restaurants and hotels is restricted, the Japanese government still allows smoking in restaurants, bars, and some other public places. Many Japanese people are dissatisfied with this, arguing that if smoking is to be banned, it really should be entirely banned. In Japanese culture, avoiding touching others without their consent is a fundamental principle of politeness. Japanese people highly value personal space and respect for others. When you come to Japan, you will notice that touching others, even shaking hands, is not encouraged. Instead, the Japanese show respect by bowing politely, usually around 30 to 45 degrees when interacting. Public displays of affection are also considered disrespectful in Japan. Before 1945, such behavior was considered a violation of public order and could result in imprisonment. Although cultural attitudes and legal regulations in Japan have changed after World War II, public displays of affection are still strictly managed. When you enter a house in Japan, wearing shoes or even indoor slippers in the main living areas can be seen as disrespectful. Therefore, remember to take off your shoes or slippers at the entrance and switch to indoor slippers. This practice has existed for about 2,000 years, originating from the need to keep living spaces clean and dry. Due to the hot and humid summer climate, traditional Japanese houses were built with raised floors to avoid moisture and help with air circulation, creating a cooler environment. Tatami mats, which cover almost the entire floor, also help maintain cleanliness and comfort. In a book published in 1984 by a Japanese sociologist, the importance of the interior space of the home was emphasized as a private and clean area compared to the dusty and chaotic outside. So, changing shoes before entering the house not only aims to maintain cleanliness, but also shows respect for the homeowner's private space. Although this rule is, a bit more flexible in modern life, many Japanese people still value this tradition. So when visiting a Japanese home, always ask if you can wear shoes inside to show respect for their culture. A famous British YouTuber, Jack, shared his shocking experience when traveling in Japan. While strolling down the street and enjoying a Japanese bun,
he was surprised by the unfriendly looks from people around him. Two elderly men even scolded him and chased him away from the area. Jack was very confused by this reaction, and when he found out the real reason, his confusion increased even more. It turns out the uncomfortable attitude from passers-by was not because he did something wrong, but simply because he was eating while walking, a behavior considered very unusual in Japan. Here, eating while walking on the street or on the subway is not accepted, as the Japanese believe it can disturb others. The smell of food and the sound of chewing can cause discomfort and disrupt public order. Therefore, eating on the street can lead to being scolded by elders or receiving unfriendly looks. The Japanese are known for their high sensitivity, especially regarding issues like tattoos, touching others, and even basic expressions of affection. One of their traditional customs is to use chopsticks to pick up the bones of the deceased during cremation ceremonies. Therefore, using chopsticks to pass food to others can be seen as an impolite act, almost like an insult. Additionally, sticking chopsticks into a bowl of rice is also forbidden, as this action resembles the act of offering incense to the deceased. If you accidentally do this during a meal, you might be asked to leave and face severe criticism from the host. So the advice for those visiting Japan is to use chopsticks only to eat food and avoid any other actions to prevent unnecessary trouble. Whistling at night in Japan is often considered taboo, and children are frequently warned against this behavior. While some believe that whistling at night is simply a way to encourage children to sleep quietly and not make noise, there are many cultural reasons and legends behind this. A common reason is folklore linking whistling with snakes. According to a story, a wicked man used a poisonous snake to attack his victims, and whistling at night was believed to be a way to control the snake. Snakes can sense the sound of whistling, so snake trainers often use whistles to signal them. Moreover, the Japanese believe that whistling at night can attract demons or thieves. In the past, thieves often used whistles to communicate with each other, and whistling could make villagers think you are an accomplice of thieves. One of the most serious taboos in Japan is, pointing directly at people with your finger. This gesture is considered extremely rude and offensive in Japanese culture. The Japanese believe that pointing at someone with your finger is equivalent to cursing them or bringing bad luck upon them. Instead of pointing with your finger, Japanese people use an open hand with the palm facing upward to indicate direction or to gesture towards someone. This cultural sensitivity extends to pointing at sacred objects, buildings, or even statues. Always be mindful of your hand gestures when in Japan, as what might seem innocent to you could be deeply offensive to locals. So we've explored 15 taboos in Japan. Hopefully, this information will give you a clearer view of Japan. It is a wonderful country with many things to discover, and respecting local culture will help you have more memorable experiences. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos. See you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.